Hello?
Hi, Jonathan. This is Sheriff's Officer Augen from the Ocean County Sheriff's Office. How are you?
Hi. How's it going?
Not too bad. How are you?
I'm fine.
Just calling regarding the emails and the messages you've been leaving for Commissioner Quinn.
Yeah. What and
What's
what do they say? I'm assuming you're going to try to threaten me with some sort of harassment, so I'd like to know how I'm harassing a public official who is covering up a hate crime.
I'm just contacting you to ask you if you would please stop.
I'm not going to stop. He's covering up a hate crime, and as a public official, I have a right to contact him. If he would personally like to take me to court for a restraining order, I guess he could try. But I'm not doing anything wrong. He's the one, as a public official for 7 or 8 years, who covered up a hate crime against multiple hate crimes against me and against other people, and he's abusing the police force to try to intimidate me to stop because he's trying to protect his job. If you guys can't see it that way, I don't know how to help you. You guys are the ones who do investigations. It's absurd. Let me take a step back for a second. Maybe this is the better way of doing it because you are some person I've never spoken to before in my life. So maybe I'm being unfair to you. You just have to try to put yourself in my shoes. Can you explain to me how exactly restraining order laws work in Ocean County? Maybe you can just take me through that step by step, what people can and can't do, how restraining orders are dealt with, whose job it is to serve them, whose job it is to inform members of the public that people are thinking about getting a restraining order against them, whether it's a Ocean County Sheriff's matter, whether it's a local police department matter. Anything you can say would help me if you were truly trying to help me. Regardless of Gary Quinn, we can talk about that afterward. But anything you can say to define clearly state in the state of New Jersey, in Ocean County, in townships, however you guys break that down, the harassment that you are currently calling me about, how that works.
So you want me to break down all of that to you?
Yes, and if you were the wrong person to do that, that's fine. You're the person who called me, so I'm happy to speak with whoever. First, I had the sheriff call me, and I can send you the conversation I had that you were being referred to me for. I recorded the whole thing, so if you would like to see exactly what you're being called about and how absurd it is, that's fine with me. I'm happy to send it to you. I literally called the sheriff's department office asking for your email 3 hours ago so that I could do that. So I have no problem working with you guys, but you guys have literally involved yourself in an issue where there are people in my past who don't want to be exposed for covering up a hate crime against me, and and I don't know what you were told by Gary Quinn's office, but you are being used to intimidate me so that he can get away with it.
I'm not trying to intimidate.
I'm not saying you're trying to do that. I'm telling you that's what it seems like you're doing, given what I contacted Gary Quinn to have a conversation with him. He knows I've tried to have a conversation with him for weeks about this. If he's not guilty, I don't see why he wouldn't get on the record and talk to me about this, as someone who lived right down the street from his brother, as someone he knew as a kid. So obviously he's hiding something from my perspective. I know that has nothing to do with you. So that's why I backtracked and I said, if you would like to explain to me with full detail how restraining orders work, that would be something maybe you can handle. But maybe if you're the wrong person, once again, I'm happy to speak to someone else.
I said this has nothing to do really with a restraining order. This more has to do with a harassment claim.
Okay. Wouldn't that follow through with the restraining order?
No.
So what would that follow? You're going to come arrest me for calling Gary Quinn and asking him to explain himself and why he's covering up a violent hate crime.
Well, it's not. Listen, what you're doing is constituted by harassment under New Jersey 2C.
And what am I doing? I'm serious. I'm asking you what you think I'm doing. You have been given information in regards to I've been doing something for long. So what have you been given? Because I haven't contacted Gary Quinn that much. It's probably been 2 or 3 times. But it's probably been less than most members of the public. So whatever information you're being given, maybe it's best you share it with me because I don't see it that way.
You sent multiple emails.
How many is multiple emails?
At least 4 or 5.
And you know that I've sent 4 or 5. You've seen them.
Yes,
and you counted them.
Yes.
And what was contained in these emails that I shouldn't say to Gary Quinn, who's involved in covering up a hate crime with?
It's not the content of the emails; it's the consistency.
Okay. So you're saying a public official can't be contacted 5 times. So you're saying there are people who are contacting Governor Murphy 5 times and people who are contacting the sheriff's department 5 times. And Gary Quinn has never once said to me, "Don't contact me." You understand that, right? He's never responded to me and said, "No thanks." He's just ignored me. So I don't even know. I mean, this is the first certainty I know he's getting the emails. So I see a lot of issues with you guys trying to threaten a restraining order against me for contacting a public official who has decided to run for office and be in charge of the public of a county. He is one of 5 people who makes decisions for what has Ocean County got? 130,000 people? And he's using the police to attempt to restrain me because he doesn't want to be exposed for his complicity in 8 to 10 years of abuse for children. He knows I'm not the only person who went through this. I'm just trying to explain the absurdity of this. I know you're going to do what you have to do, but why isn't Gary Quinn calling me? Why isn't Gary Quinn? I've literally. You want to speak? Is that what you said? Sorry.
No, I said I cannot speak for Mr. Quinn. I
Okay.
don't know why he's contacting you.
Okay. So, message received. You're telling me to stop calling Gary Quinn. I'm going to look into that. Now I'm asking you if you can fully. You were calling me saying I am violating. What did you just quote?
The New Jersey 2C Criminal Code of Harassment.
Okay. Can you clearly define that for me?
I certainly can.
Okay. I would appreciate that.
Sure, I'll read it right from the statute.
Can you please just do it slowly? Not super slowly, but just so I can take it in.
A person commits a petty disorderly person's offense if with the purpose to harass another, he causes to be made a communication or communications anonymously or at extremely inconvenient hours in offensively coarse language or in any other manner likely to cause alarm.
You understand? It doesn't. From my perspective, I'm not doing any of those things. Can you read it again? And I'm going to cut in and tell you how I'm not doing those things. And no, please. You're calling me. You're putting me in a position to be afraid for whatever. I shouldn't have to. No. Look. Understand. You are.
I understand what you're saying. You believe that Mr. Quinn's involved in something. I don't know what that is.
I know he is.
You're constituting.
But can we please? I want to just for the record, and then if you want to end this conversation, I guess we can end this conversation. I don't feel better about it. I consider what you guys are doing to be harassment, but we see it differently. I'm just asking you one more time to read it so I can point out to you the issues I have with what you're saying and how I don't think you guys are reading the law correctly. Can we just do that? No, you're not going to do that. So you're going to try to call me to put me in my place, and then you're not going to give me the ability to respond. You're literally going to put a member of the public in a situation where he has to retain a lawyer rather than to treat him like a human being who is capable of understanding words and trying to, I'm not being irrational here. I'm not shouting at you. I'm shaking because this is very traumatic for me, and I don't know if you can hear my voice is kind of broken, but I feel like I'm composing myself as a person who's been through a lot. I feel like I'm being a rational, orderly person with you on the phone, and I'm asking you questions that any concerned citizen and concerned person going through trauma.
Jonathan?
What?
Can I jump in?
Sure.
Right now, you're not being charged with anything.
No, I'm not. You're threatening to charge me with something. You're threatening to hold me accountable for things I don't think I'm doing. And you're putting me in a position where you're not explaining yourself, you're not allowing me to explain myself, and you're forcing me to retain a lawyer, which is of expense to me.
I'm not forcing you to do anything.
You're calling me and saying, if you don't put to bed...
Do you have any questions about what I've said to you?
Yes, I do. That's why I'm asking you to go through the statute again. To reread it. I could pull it up. What's the statute? If you don't want to read it to me, just tell me and I'll look it up online.
Do you have any questions about what I said?
I have a question. I literally just said I have a question about the statute you just read to me. So yes, I do. Now you're being condescending and rude. And you're being irrational and you're treating me like I'm somehow less than you. I'm not, like, I don't know what makes you think you're in a position where all of you think you can use the police to intimidate a person who was victimized. I mean, I had people threaten to kill me every single day in your county from the age of 11 to the second to last day of school. Somebody literally held a knife to my throat because I just had the attitude like, screw it, I'm out of here. And I guess I stood up for myself, and they literally held a knife to my throat, and the school system that Gary Quinn was a part of covered it up just like they did with a black kid 3 years earlier. So there's a problem in your county, and it's proven by the fact you guys don't think it's a problem. You guys are like, oh, this guy should just shut the fuck up and grow up, and it's okay that he doesn't think his life matters, and it's okay that he was tormented for 9 years. You guys think that's normal. You guys think that condition is normal. There's clearly a problem in your county that you guys don't want to address. So I'm talking to you as a concerned citizen, and I think you want to get off the phone because I'm speaking rationally, and you don't have answers. So if there's somebody else I can talk to, that would be fine, but you're not explaining to me how I'm violating that law that you won't repeat.
What I'm explaining to you now, Jonathan, is I am now going to assert to you that I am calling on Mr. Quinn's behalf to notify you that your communications are unwanted.
Okay. Why isn't he calling me? You understand his brother reached out to my father to try to intimidate him, so he's reaching out to people behind my back. I have another question.
Any questions about what I said to you?
Yes, I literally have another question. I'm asking you to explain how the service and how does Ocean County go about where it is weird to me that a sheriff's officer is calling me to file a restraining order, to threaten filing a restraining order. What I know about restraining orders, which isn't much, that's why I'm asking you the question, is you just go and file one. Like if Gary Quinn wanted to file a restraining order, why doesn't Gary Quinn just go file a restraining order? Or why doesn't the office of the commissioner file a restraining order? Like however that's going to go about. I would make the argument I'm not even harassing Gary Quinn. I'm harassing the office of the commissioner, which isn't a person. I haven't called Gary Quinn's phone number, to my knowledge. I don't think I have. I don't think I have his phone number. So I don't even think Gary Quinn has the ability to file a restraining order against me because I'm not contacting Gary Quinn. I haven't spoken to Gary Quinn. I've spoken to an office. So I would advise you guys, maybe you should have the office of the Ocean County Commissioner file a restraining order against me because that's who I've contacted.
Well, Jonathan, for probably the third time now, I'm going to explain to you that this has nothing to do with a restraining order.
Okay.
This is not a restraining order matter.
Okay.
This has to do with the violation of criminal code.
So you're saying I'm a criminal for contacting Gary Quinn?
I'm saying what you're doing is construed as harassment.
Can you repeat the code? I'm going to ask you again so I can tell you how I don't see it that way and how I think you're misinterpreting it. And I'm asking you once again, who would be the one prosecuting this? Would it be the Ocean County prosecutor? Would it be the state of New Jersey?
Do you have any other questions?
I just asked you who would be prosecuting this, the Ocean County prosecutor, the state of New Jersey.
Yes, Jonathan, I'm not continuing this conversation on any more.
You're not going to answer me?
No.
You're not going to answer who would be prosecuting this matter?
I'm not. This has nothing to do with the conversation that I called you for.
I'm so confused why you're calling me, if I'm being honest with you. You're calling me to tell me to stop contacting Gary Quinn. I get that. I'm asking you, what if I don't do that, who follows through with that?
If you do not stop,
yes,
you are going to be charged with harassment.
By the Ocean County prosecutor or the state of New Jersey?
By the Ocean County Sheriff's Office.
By the Ocean County Sheriff's Office, and then would that be prosecuted by the Ocean County prosecutor or the state of New Jersey?
It would be prosecuted by the Toms River Police Municipal Court.
So it wouldn't even be the Ocean County prosecutor?
No.
So when I go to municipal court, what happens?
You have to contact them.
So your job is, so as an officer of the law, you don't have any idea of the consequences of your actions? Did the lawyer answer for you, or are we still waiting for an answer?
For what?
I just asked you, as an officer of New Jersey who enforces whatever laws you enforce. I'm sure you've enforced alcohol laws, maybe moving violations, traffic violations. I'm sure you've arrested people for abuse, like all the things that you enforce. You don't understand the consequence of the laws you enforce. You just enforce them and you have no idea of the consequence of what happens to those people that you enforce them on. So when I'm asking you, you're calling me to say, I'm going to do this to you. And I say, okay, if you do this to me, what happens? How does the court work? Who prosecutes this? And you're struggling to answer all these questions for me.
I'm not struggling to answer anything, Jonathan. You're not answering the question that I'm asking you.
Can I ask?
Do you have any questions about what I've asked you to do?
No, once again, it doesn't sound like you're asking me to do anything. It sounds like you're trying to leave things open so that I stop doing them, and I'm asking you how it would work if I disobey what you are telling me is an order, and you won't tell me that.
I'm not an attorney, so I can't give you legal advice.
So you're telling me to get an attorney.
I'm not an attorney.
Let me ask you one more thing. To your knowledge, how would I have Gary Quinn investigated? How would I have you investigated? Like, do I contact Internal Affairs? Because once again, this is weird to me. I don't understand why you're calling me. I called to speak to. I called earlier to ask your. And this is all recorded. This is all documented. I called the Ocean County Sheriff's Office 3 hours ago and said, I need you're the Ocean County Sheriff. Your boss called me to do this 3 days ago, and he didn't like where the conversation went, so he hung up on me. So I called back, and they said he would call me back, and he never called me back. So I prepared an email because I don't think what you guys are doing to a person who was abused for 8 years violently to none of you guys cares. To none of you guys notice because you guys don't want Jews in your county, let's just be honest. You guys like your county a certain way and you like the intimidation that scares and makes people unwelcome, and I know you're not going to comment that. You can just be silent. I lost my train of thought because this is absurd. What was I was going to ask you a question. So who would like if I had concerns about the cause of this conversation, the content of this conversation, what you're asking me to do is you're telling me the only person you know of that I can go to is a lawyer. There's no person in the state of New Jersey who like if I worked at McDonald's, I'd have a supervisor who says, oh, he doesn't flip the burgers right, you know? So
all I'm asking you to do, Jonathan, is to not contact Mr. Quinn anymore.
So who can I contact? Can I contact any of the other supervisors? What are the grounds to contact people? Like, when can I contact someone? Like, you're saying I am not allowed to contact the Ocean County Commissioner. That's like saying I can't contact a leader. That's like saying Donald Trump is above me or Joe Biden. That's like saying I'm not allowed to contact the mayor with questions. That's like saying I, as a citizen in a country that operates in a democracy, supposedly, or a republic, you're saying I can't contact the person who is part of the people control leadership, like the person who makes decisions for me if I lived in your county. You're saying because I reached out to him and said, you're covering something up and I don't understand why you're not answering me. Because I did that 5 times, I'm harassing a public figure. Okay, I guess you're not going to answer. So what, are you still there?
I'm still here, Jonathan.
I'm going to ask one more time. Who, if I have concerns about the, yeah,
John.
yes.
All right. So once again, and for all, I'm asking you to not contact Mr. Quinn.
Mm-hmm.
If you have questions that you have for Mr. Quinn, you're going to have to find somebody else to ask those questions.
Who would that be?
You're going to have to research that.
Okay. So once again, I'm going to ask you, and then we can end this conversation. We're going. Yeah. Okay. And I'm not committing one way or the other to that. It's not your place. You're threatening me. You're not in control of the situation. Okay.
It's hard to listen to me when you're talking.
There's nothing for you to say. It's obvious you're trying to intimidate me. So, I think we both know what you're doing. Okay, let me ask you something. One more question. No, it's a very easy question for you. Is your job typically to call up people and tell them that restraining orders are going to be filed against them? How often do you do that?
All right, Jonathan. No more questions from you. Don't contact Commissioner Quinn, and that's the end of this.
What about the sheriff? Can I contact the sheriff?
Jonathan.
No, I'm not allowed to contact the sheriff?